And now for your Fitness Business Podcast Snapshot. A brand that includes all employees, building trust through your brand within your community and staff, and staying true to your brand. All this plus more coming up in today's show. Welcome to episode 299 of the industry's leading business podcast for fitness owners and managers. This month's interviews are brought to you by our podcast partner, One Fit Stop. One Fit Stop provides scheduling, client management, programming, and payment collection tools that will set your business up for success. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com or click on the link in today's show notes. Hi everyone, this is your host, Dory Nugent. Now I'm going to throw out 4 retail names and think about what they might have in common. Apple, Starbucks, Nike, and Amazon. Well, they are among the top most recognizable brands in the retail market. So here's my question for you. Is your club brand easily recognizable? Does it stand out, grab your customers' attention? Well, this week's guest, Peter Thew from Yoga Movement, has it figured out. In 2007, having finished his marketing degree at the University of Hawaii, Peter Thew was moved to Bali to take on the regional marketing manager role for global youth lifestyle brand Billabong. Seemingly taking on the dream job for any Australian brought up around sun, surf, and sand, he was quickly schooled on the flavor and diversity of working in the most exciting region for growth on the planet, Asia. A few years in, he was promoted to regional brand management role for Billabong, overseeing branded solutions for existing markets and helping establish game plans for entry into new markets throughout the region. In 2012, his now wife, Alicia Pan, floated the idea of opening a lifestyle concept centered around yoga. Bringing his passion for branding and a desire to address the existing position of yoga in the Singapore market, they created Yoga Movement. The Yoga Movement brand now has 6 established locations across the Lion City that boast complementary academy, retail, and F&B offerings. Peter currently holds down the managing director role at Yoga Movement. Now we're about to transition into this week's exciting interview. But first, here's a message from our friends at One Fit Stop.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, One Fit Stop, for their support, and we highly recommend all fitness professionals go to onefitstop.com to find out how their software will enable you to take control of day-to-day management in your fitness business. One Fit Stop's scheduling, client management, programming, and payment collection tools will set your business up for success.
Peter, welcome to the show. So great to have you here on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great talking to you.
Yes. I have a feeling that you are going to absolutely inspire many of our listeners today. Your journey seems completely incredible, and your story seems to continue to grow.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy journey, and it's one that I've taken with my now wife, my partner. We're both the co-founders of Yoga Movement, so that's been something to navigate alongside building a brand and a business at the same time, and it's been crazy. It has been crazy.
Sometimes crazy is good, though, you know?
Yeah.
So speaking of Yoga Movement, let's talk about Yoga Movement. Congratulations. Yoga Movement is absolutely one of the best and most consistently branded fitness businesses on the planet. So we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit on how you do that. So could you share with us the process that you went through to help develop the Yoga Movement brand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was a branding guy from before the yoga movement times. I used to work for Billabong, which is an Australian youth lifestyle brand, centered kind of around surf and skate and snow. And I was very lucky in that I got to start with them quite young, just out of university. I actually went to university in the States, to the University of Hawaii. And just off the back of graduating, I got an internship with Billabong, did some stuff for them, and got a role with them in Bali in Indonesia as the Southeast Asian marketing manager. And I was super green, obviously, super fresh. And I just got this crash course in what it meant to articulate brand. And there's such an iconic and amazing Australian brand in an area of passion for me, which is surf and sun and beach and stuff like that, that I was so into it that it was very easy for me to pick up the nuances of brand and brand communication and aesthetics. So I spent 3 or 4 years in Indonesia and then was brought up to Singapore, which is where I'm at now as the Asia brand manager for Billabong, and spent a few more years with them. And once you moved into the brand management role, it was, I thought there was such a significant change from a marketing role. I found that marketing was something that you would do where you would maybe sell or maybe communicate something as a very one-sided conversation. And I found the transition to brand was much more an articulation of all of the touch points of the business and the brand and how consistent they needed to be. So you couldn't just be a fun events guy or talking to ambassadors or athletes. You needed to actually think about what the business needed to achieve. You needed to think about your clients, your product, and then also the branded aesthetics. So when we got to yoga movement, when I met my now wife, Alicia Pan, she was a very well-noted singer and songwriter here in Singapore. She had a great network. She was actually teaching yoga as well at the time. And she would bring me along to a few different yoga classes at different places she was teaching and other places. And I just really, really struggled with the delivery of the service from all aspects of it. If a particular brand had a great website or great brand communication, I would go in and the class would feel kind of clunky and not great. If the class was great at this other place and the facilities were excellent, I found that their branding and everything else around it was really inconsistent. So I never found that head to toe kind of branded service delivery in any of the facilities or any of the brands that we went to. So we kind of took those experiences and we molded them into what we wanted to create. And it was something more around a youth lifestyle focused yoga brand or a more accessible yoga brand. And we basically picked on all of the touch points of that service delivery and started polishing them as best as we could with service in mind, but also coming back to that word accessibility. And it went from strength to strength.
Yeah, very awesome. Do you consider yourself then the sole expert behind the brand of yoga movement? Do you have a team? Who's making the decisions on a day-to-day basis?
Oh gosh, I would hate to use the word expert. That's a very that's a very lofty. That's got a lot of levity to it, rather. I was definitely the guy that started it, but this is a thing for me with branding is that I had a formal education in it. I did a Bachelor of Marketing and I came through the ranks of quite a corporate company, even though it was a youth lifestyle brand. But it was a structured learning of what brand meant. I would always look at my wife and the way that she managed her personal brand around her artistry and her singing. I would go, wow, she gets it. She never had a single day in class with regards to marketing or brand. But the way that she managed herself, the way that she would present herself, the type of music that she would sing, the places that she would perform at and not perform at, the brands that she would align with and not align with. She had a really good, astute and keen understanding of what it meant to manage brands. So I think us as a partnership starting out, it was really, really fantastic. I think we had 2 kind of brand experts before we even really recognized it. As we've developed, obviously we do have a team now. We have a team that really understands what branding means and what it means to yoga movement and how valuable it is to our ongoing business. And we have people in content and creative. We have people, graphic artists and, general managers and people and places managers that are all very well versed on what it means to be in the yoga movement brand.
Right. And, I always find it so interesting. You talked about yourself being educated, branding or marketing major at University of Hawaii. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
And like you said, your wife had no formal, education on branding, yet she's a genius with it in her own right. And I always find that so interesting how you can take two people and one, with education and one without, but both make it work. So I think that's really, it's just cool. It's really neat. It shows everybody that, hey, you don't always have to go to college and get a degree in marketing to make yourself successful, but hey, it also does help. So,
well, I can tell you a secret. I mean, my Bachelor of Marketing was centered around me not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And I just thought that was the broadest discipline I could plug into. And there was a whole bunch of opportunities in the realm of marketing that I could probably plug into. And it was definitely not at the time what I would have considered a passion. And a lot of the brands that I love, and I'm not even pointing at fitness lifestyle, just in food and beverage, F&B, or other areas of service delivery, the people that are kind of running these shows aren't necessarily from that world. They haven't been through a formal education with marketing or with branding. And they're just problem solvers. They're people that kind of get it. They have a passion for problem solving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's great that, you can see that and you can find that, and that you can kind of just help guide them into, what's needed to be done for the brand. I think that's awesome. So how does a strong brand build trust in a community and for its consumers? Do you have any specific examples of what you have done to help build that trust? I mean, you have 6 locations. You're obviously growing and expanding. So you got a little secret on how to build the trust?
Well, I think we can just speak to our experience so far and what we feel has worked for us. And one of the things is, I mean, we are still the ownership, my wife and I. There's no, mum and dad money. There's no investors. There's no one that we really answer to. And we're still heavily involved in the business. We're in studios every day. We're in there talking to our clients, to our team, and to everyone. So it's high touch for us. And so we're the decision makers within the business, and we're still very much enveloped into what it does every single day. So I think that filters down to trust to the clients, and also almost more importantly to your team. The other things that we would do is we're very consistent, and we keep very regular activity on all of our touch points of our brand. So not just the classes, but I mean the effort and the energy that we put behind articles that we'll put out or posts that we put up. And I think even though people don't click into, say, a blog post every day or the 2 or 3 that we put up every single week, the fact that in their peripheral, they see new imagery going up, a new title and stuff like that, there's trust that we're going to be there for a long time, and that we're putting a lot of energy and focus into this stuff. There's a few other quick ones. For us, we have a lot of service standards as well. It's pretty crazy. We're pretty regimented with the way that we deliver a class. We don't allow students into a class late, just for safety reasons and to not disturb the rest of the clients within the class. But we also hold ourselves to that standard. So in the very rare event that a teacher is late, they'll still come in and conduct that class, even if it's 5 minutes late, and everyone in the class gets that class for free. So we hold ourselves true to the same ideals that we hold our clients to, and that helps build trust in our service delivery. We also went out there and we created our own teacher training that's called Yoga Movement Academy, or YMTT, Yoga Movement Teacher Training. And what we found is that to really recruit a quality teacher, we found that the Yoga Alliance accreditation, or I shouldn't say probably Yoga Alliance, but the level of accreditation out in the market was kind of not good enough. We found that people that would submit in resumes and CVs into our business with a level of accreditation, it didn't really hold that much weight. So we wanted to go out and create an actual teacher training where you can fail. Even though you have paid us a course fee, that doesn't guarantee you a cert at the end of the day. So we're very, very particular about attendance. We have a heavy theory side of it and a heavy practical side of our teacher trainings to ensure that, there's trust in our delivery of class as well. And beyond that, from an absolute front-facing service side of things, our YM app, which has been downloaded over 25,000 times by our clients, it's self-managed based. So clients can basically extend their own packages. They can manage their own profiles. You don't need to, submit a doctor's letter or, heaven forbid, like a death certificate in the family or something like that, just so that your fitness provider is going to give you a 2-month extension. It's just full trust to them. If you need a few extra months, you can extend it in your packet within your app, and you take care of it yourself. And I think that's kind of a lot of those touch points have garnished a lot of trust from our clients and from our team.
Yes, and the service standards I think are so important. I think a lot of businesses fail because they either don't have specific service standards or they don't enforce, they make them, and then they put together their service standards and then they don't enforce them. And I think it's very obvious which companies out there have very specific service standards and then also make sure that their employees follow them.
Absolutely. And I think for us in the fitness industry, I'm going to go out on a limb and say we're not the best industry to point to with regards to service standards. Mm-hmm. I think the best industry for us to point to is F&B. And for us, Alicia and I, one of our little things that we love to go to a decent restaurant and have some food. Mm-hmm. And we actually just break it down. We break down what they do and see what we can pull from those other sectors into our industry and into our own service delivery, because the standard there is amazing. It's not just about the quality of class delivery. It's everything. It's from when they touch your website or your app to how they enter the studio, to how they're greeted, to the language used at your front desk, then into the practice room. And then almost more importantly, when they leave the practice room, a goodbye, see you soon, can I help you with anything else? Just those subtle things that mean the world. Using people's names, it carries weight. So yeah, we lean on other industries for our influence, definitely outside of fitness lifestyle.
In this next section, listen to how Yoga Movement took their virtual Zoom classes during the pandemic shutdown to the next level.
What we managed to do was actually come up with a new service, which is our YM Live classes. And just to tell you a funny story is I was dead set against going online. I thought that this would be a 1 month thing, at most a 6-week thing. And I'm like, we shouldn't put our energy over into here. The studios will open back up. And even then, even if it was going to be longer, there's just so much content out there that there's an oversupply of it. Why would we do this? Why would we open up, the borders of our competition to every best player in the world in this area? I mean, us specifically, there's, Alo Moves or Glow or any one of them that are providing a fantastic service and they're capitalized into this. But my team, I don't want to say behind my back, but without my knowledge, went and built a 22-page proposal around YM Live and the service delivery of it and the standards that we would deliver, and ensuring that from every single point and facet of our brand and business, everything would be absolutely the same in a YM Live class than it would be in a studio class, except that class is just going to be delivered through Zoom. And they got it to that point. It was ridiculous. We almost remocked our entire teacher employee. The whole Zoom process was run through the app, from booking the class to inviting a friend to rating the teacher. We even have a front desk staff member that logs onto the Zoom meeting half an hour before, invites everyone in, greets them, gets the room ready. And then even if someone gets bumped off because of, technical reasons or anything, they manage them coming back in so the teacher doesn't have to miss a beat with the service delivery. And we started off with around 50 classes a week, then 70 classes a week, and now we're up to 100 classes a week. But really, the team just did such an amazing job staying within the parameters of our brand and the way we've built our brand, but delivering this whole other service has become quite meaningful to our business.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love that. So, employees, hiring is a big talk in the fitness industry. It seems to just be coming, and I'm sure it's in every industry, but just seems to be the big talk that's getting harder and harder to find good employees. How do you select your coaches or your trainers or your teachers for Yoga Movement? Do you have a process?
Yeah. I think for us, it's a very, we take our time with it. We're not quick with the hiring process. And I don't want to actually harp on just the teacher side of things, because teachers for us are obviously an integral part of the business, but so is everyone else. And that's why I think Yoga Movement has been somewhat successful, is that we put a lot of stock into the people working in every facet of our business, and not just that particular 45, 60 or 75 minute class that's happening. There's just so many other things that can either make or break your service delivery. So recruitment for us, for everyone, starts with an informal interview over the phone. If they get past that, it's a formalized interview face-to-face. Then we actually have a training period for both front desk and for teachers. Even if a teacher is 200-hour or 500-hour teacher trained, they're assigned to either a manager or a mentor to kind of guide them once they are recruited in. And yeah, we keep a close eye on them and make sure that they've got a lot of support there. even with front desk stuff for us and our operational stuff, they actually have to do all the class types before they can even teach a front desk class, because we have this strong belief in that. How can you talk about this with your clients if you've never experienced it before? It's kind of like going to a restaurant and someone asks how the chicken is, and the waiter says, "Oh, I've never had the chicken." So we have this huge belief in making sure that everyone's familiar with our service and what we offer as a brand and what we stand for before they even step foot in our studio and get behind the desk or in front of the class.
And do you, Peter, have a lot of hands-on with that, or do you leave that to your team and your management team?
I mean, obviously, back in the day, yes. We've been around for just on 8 years now, which blows my mind, if I'm brutally honest, that it's been 8 years. I mean, it feels long, but it feels short. But as we've kind of expanded out, we're at about 140 staff now, and we do have layers of management that kind of manage these things. But it's one of these hard things as a business grows, if I'm honest, is that it does get hard once you walk into the studios and you don't know people as well as you used to at one or two studios, or you don't know absolutely everyone by first name the first time you see them. And it gets a little bit harder to get that way. But for us, our recruitment is definitely focused on our management team. We have about 10 people in our head office here. And so that's the team that I'm building and the team that I'm putting a lot of energy into. And then obviously, a big part of our business now is making sure that that team has levity, that makes sure that they have the ability to make their own mistakes and make their own decisions. And we want to give them a platform to grow and not be involved in absolutely every facet of the business and micromanage.
And let's just shift for a second. So branding strong with yoga movement, it's consistent. Constantly, checking in, making sure that everybody is pushing out the same service standards. Is there anything that you would change about the yoga movement brand now? Do you find that you're changing it? Do you tweak it? But anything you change about it?
No, I love our brand. I mean, I'm sitting here now and there's a bunch of, the campaigns that we do and the stuff that we've pulled together and I'll be brutally honest, it just doesn't look like any other yoga brand out there. And I'm really proud and really humbled of what we've been able to pull together. The thing that always gets to me is that we've never been big on conquering the world. We don't have a plan that says, let's build 100 studios in Asia in the next 5 years. It's just not in us. And what we've found is that we're very opportunity driven with regards to business and brand growth. And it's always been qualified by the fact of whether we can hold our brand and service standard true. And I think to answer your question, I wouldn't change anything about the brand. I would just want to maintain it or strengthen what we kind of stand for. There's always stuff to work on. There's always stuff we can be better at. And we make mistakes as much, if not more than anyone else out there. But for me, it's not about changing things. It's about staying true to it and seeing how we can bounce around within the parameters of what we've kind of set out to do.
Yeah. You hear that a lot with successful companies, and they'll always say you have to stay true to the brand. You do hear that. Yeah, absolutely. So I have to ask you though, I did read as I was doing a little research that you have plans for international expansion. Do you have a next step? Do you have a next step? Do you have anything in the works? Would you like to share with our listeners?
That was a secret up until COVID-19. Not a secret. We just wanted to make sure we had all of our ducks in a row with everything. But I mean, the business is such an amazing point that we have this app that is truly world class that we've developed, and we spent a lot of time, energy, and effort on that app and cash, just quietly. We've developed out this Yoga Movement Academy. So we even have a 150-page manual that we wrote every single word of, took every single picture and illustrated every single diagram within for our teacher training. It's such an amazing platform. And I mean, just to talk about our academy really quick, we even have modules in there. One of them is around the business of yoga. So we actually teach teachers about, supply and demand of teachers in the market. What is the pay rate that you could possibly earn? What are the nuances or ins and outs of the industry? We find that a lot of teachers get to 6 or 12 months into full-time employment. They're like, oh, this is really not what I wanted to do. So we try to preempt that and try to educate them on it. And we also have another module that's called Own the Room. So we actually get a performer in from Universal Studios to talk through voice, pitch, modulation, body language, and how to actually communicate in a room. So we've got these really cool facets of our teacher training that we don't think are really out there in the market, which lends itself to being able to build and brand yoga movement teachers as we grow. And the other thing beyond that, we have been working with a third party on our partner development systems. So we actually do have the ability now to take the brand outside of Singapore and go into new markets. So yeah, it's all in the works. Definitely have been rattled by the current situation in the world. It is hard to know what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months, but we're still very, very keen to provide further opportunity for our team to travel abroad, have regional roles, to spread their wings. It would be a really, really cool accomplishment for us.
Yeah, COVID has rocked everybody's world, not just the fitness industry, but so many of the industries. And hopefully over the next maybe 8 weeks, we certainly can get back to, starting up again and getting back to where we left off. I do want to just rewind for a second. You said something that I thought was pretty interesting. You have hired somebody from Universal Studios that talks about pitch in voice. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so it's actually a module within our teacher training, because what we would find when we would have teachers applying for our roles, there was two things that were really, really missing. And it didn't matter about their level of practice, because at the end of the day, you're not hiring someone to be the best yoga practitioner. You're hiring them to be the best teacher. The analogy I always use, because I actually love boxing a little bit, Dory, is that I wouldn't want to have a boxing lesson from Manny Pacquiao, who's a world champion boxer. I want to have the boxing lesson from his coach. I don't have any confidence that he'd be able to teach me how to box. And we kind of hold that true with our teaching team, is that we don't want the best yoga practitioner or performer. We want the person that can communicate the best to a room full of 30 people that are trying to learn. And a big part of what was lacking was their ability to communicate, their ability to own a room, to use body language, to use touch, to keep people interested with voice modulation and pitch. And that was a performance element that was really, really lacking in a lot of applicants. So we thought it was a really, really key module to add into our teacher training.
I love to hear that you're doing that with your instructors. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. And I mean, the other module that I was kind of harping on was the one around the business of yoga, and it touches on what it means to be a yoga teacher and what it means to turn this passion of yours into your income and the pressure that comes with that. And I mean, I'm a personal believer in not necessarily doing that, not always taking your passion and putting the pressure on it to turn it into your sole source of income, or at least understanding the things that can be challenging with setting your life up like that. So we have this modules to speak to directly that, but also your own personal brand management, how to carry yourself, how to manage your own social networking, how to put the best version of yourself out to the world to make sure that you put yourself in the best position for both employment and in the client's eyes as well.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
What are 3 tips to build brand presence and strength in a community?
Okay, so for me, number 1 is a brand is the sum of all experiences had with it. It sounds like a terrible, grammatically incorrect sentence, but all it means is to make sure that all the touch points of your brand are consistent and are sending the same message. So your website lingo needs to sound like how your front desk person speaks. Your fit out of your particular location needs to kind of sound like how your teacher speaks. It all needs to be speaking and saying the same kind of thing. The second thing for me is create space for those touch points to be seen, build communications channels, and build comfort around dialogue. Try not to talk at people with your brand. Try to create a space for them to be able to engage with it. And the third one for me, and this is the biggest one, is stand for something as a brand. If you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. You need to stand for something as a brand and a business. You don't need to be all things to everyone. Pick your niche, go for it, and double down on it.
Keep Me, smarter member retention. KeepMe.ai.
Peter, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor to speak with you today. Thank you so much for coming on to the Fitness Business Podcast and sharing all of your wealth of information with our listeners.
Thank you so much, Dory. I'm so humbled to have the opportunity. Thanks for taking your time to speak to me. It's been great.
Good luck with your brand. I can't wait to see once things get rolling where it expands to. We're definitely going to be keeping our eye out on that.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Again, a sincere thank you to Peter Thew from Yoga Movement for coming on today's show. There were so many good branding nuggets within that interview. I hope that you all can take something with you and implement it at your club. Now, here's a message from our podcast partner, MyZone.
MyZone is a wearable technology platform that leverages personal goal setting, gamification, and social platforms to motivate your members. To find out more, go to myzone.org.
Quickfire 5.
This week's Quickfire 5 guest is Luke Carlson. Luke is a member of the URSA board and proud owner of Discover Strength Training Studios. Why the fitness industry, Luke Carlson?
I've been passionate about exercise since the time I was 6, 7 years old, and I would go to the gym with my dad, and he was a police officer, and I'd watch him work out and watch Rocky movies. And I thought, well, this is what I want to be involved with the rest of my life.
That's pretty neat. Love the Rocky movies. Who doesn't love a good Rocky movie?
Absolutely.
Question number 2. What's one ritual that helps you become better at what you do?
I'm very ritualistic in my reading. So every Saturday, I read for 3 hours. Every weekday, I read for 30 minutes, and I maintain that discipline. So I'm constantly learning and being exposed to new ideas.
Oh my gosh, we're all going to be like downloading a book now, and you've just inspired us. Number 3, what's an app or a system that you use to stay in control of your workload?
I religiously use the Full Focus Planner to plan my days and plan my weeks. That's my organizational time management, priority management system.
Yes, I'm familiar with that. That's a pretty neat system. And number 4, what's one book, podcast, blog that you would recommend and why?
Well, my favorite podcast right now is Patrick Lencioni's podcast. It's called At the Table. He's just coming up on 1 year of that podcast. And he's my all-time favorite author, and his podcast is phenomenal.
Oh, that's great. So we'll put that on our show notes and get that out to our listeners so they can take a look at that. And then lastly, what are you going to share in your main interview?
I want to talk about the difference between leadership and management, why we need both, and how we make leadership simple and actionable, because if it's complicated, we're just not going to do it.
Hi everyone, Chantal here. We're at that point in the show where you and I take a little trip down memory lane as I share some of my all-time favorite episodes from the first 5 years of the show. For this week's Rewind show, we are not going too far back. The episode was 291 and my special guest was the amazing David Vobora. There was so much that I loved about this interview, but here are the top 3 highlights. David shared with me the motivation behind creating the Adaptive Training Foundation. He talked about the impact that the foundation has on their participants and what to consider when developing a niche-focused business. So I would love you to take a moment and join me for this week's Rewind show. All you need to do is go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and click on the link in today's show notes, or head to the homepage and search for episode 291. Happy listening.
Hi FBP family, it's JT from Active Management, the founding partner of the Fitness Business Podcast. Thanks to the amazing technology at our fingertips, we can now work with clients all over the world. But right now, you can join the free online Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group of people just like you. Sure, I share weekly resources, but it's the power of the community that you will experience that will make this your go-to Facebook group. Remember, it's free, fun, and inspirational. Go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community.
Thank you for joining me for this week's show. And a reminder that all the resources and links for today's episode can be found at fbp.com. What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.